In bionumerics, a sequence read set is the experiment type to store and analyze high-throughput sequence data for both genome analysis and metagenomics analysis. One can start directly with the import of the sequence read sets in the empty database, and a new entry will be created for each sample. However, when additional metadata is available for the samples, the best way to proceed is first to import the metadata and then link the imported sequence read sets to the entries in the database. This is what will be illustrated here. First, metadata on the sequence read sets will be imported from an Excel file containing the multiplex identifiers that were used for the different samples, and also additional sample information, including sampling spot, illness status, and sampling time of the experimental setup. Once this data is imported, the sequence read sets will be linked based on the imported barcode information. Open the Import wizard. Here I select Entry Information Data, and I choose the option to import fields from an Excel file. I browse to the Excel file that contains the metadata. After I press Next, a dialog appears asking to define the import rules for each source. In this case, the different sources correspond to the columns in my Excel file. I can now make a multiple selection of all the information fields in my file and link these to new entry information fields. I will use the same field names as present from the Excel file, so I can just confirm the creation of these new information fields in the bionumerics database. Optionally, I can have a preview of what I'm about to import. To continue the import, I enter a name for this import template and proceed. From the Database Links overview, we can see that 40 new entries will be created in the database. The imported information is now displayed in the Database Entries overview. Note that the multiplex identifier information of the samples is displayed in the barcode column. Once the metadata of the different samples is imported, the actual sequence data can be linked to this available entry information. We start the import again from the Import dialog. This time we select the option to import sequence read set files. In the dialog of the Import wizard, I browse for a FASTQ file containing the sequence data. As I want both the nucleotide calls and their quality imported, I leave the option to import qualities checked and choose Standard Sanger FASTQ as quality format. All the sequence reads of the different samples are imported from this one file. Thereto, I need to demultiplex the data during import. To do so, I check the option to perform demultiplexing. For this dataset, I can specify the demultiplexing parameters as follows. The number of bases before the barcode is set to 4. The size of the barcode itself is 14 base pairs. And the number of bases between the barcode and the actual read sequence is 21 base pairs. With these settings, each unique barcode of 14 bases will be seen as a demultiplex identifier. As I want to exclude sequencing errors to be seen as unique sample barcodes, I can activate the barcode filtering options and define the minimum number of sequences to 50 and the minimum relative frequency to 1.01. At this point, I can have a preview on the demo of the file. In this dialog, the detected barcode and the absolute and relative frequencies for each barcode are listed. As we defined the minimum relative frequency as 0.01, only the barcodes having a relative frequency exceeding this number have a check mark in front of the barcode and thus will be imported in the database. I can now close the preview and proceed with the import of the sequence read sets. The following dialog allows you to create a new import template for the import of sequence read sets. First, I select the row titled Barcode and link the barcode information to the entry information field barcode already present in the database. Next, I link the name row to a new database entry information field. And I proceed with the import. To couple the database entry information to the barcode information detected from the FASTQ file, I define the field barcode as import link field and press finish to complete the import procedure. I enter a name for the template You can see that a new experiment type will be created where the data should be imported to. When I press Next, I am prompted for a name. I now proceed to the import overview. I leave the option checked to update the 40 entries in the database, and I uncheck the option to create 40 new entries. This way, only the entries present in the database will be updated and their reads will be imported from the FASTQ file. The sequences are now first being demultiplexed and then linked to the entries in the database. For each database entry, the source file name is also saved in the entry information field Name. Once the import is completed, I can select one of the green experiment dots from the Database Entries panel to visualize some basic statistics on read set size, read length and read quality of the imported sequence read sets, as will be demonstrated in our next video.